Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. Man, I don't do that as well as Ellie. I'm sorry. But Ellie's not here tonight. He had to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. So it's a two-man show with Mike and I tonight. Mike, how you doing?
I am great, man. No complaints from here. Just ready to talk some Commanders ball.
Outstanding. What are your takeaways from that Baltimore game on Sunday?
It went kind of better than I expected. I mean, those that listened last week knew that I said that we were going to lose by double digits, going to allow more than 40 points. Neither one of those happened, but we did lose. But it was a inspiring performance, if I must say. No moral victories, but it's cool watching them compete with an elite team and not get the doors blown off. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. That's the key word there, elite team. I think the Ravens are a serious contender to get robbed of a Super Bowl victory by the refs in Kansas City later this year. So that's really a team to keep an eye on, and the fact that the Commanders were able to stick with them and for the most part and keep it close, even though it honestly didn't feel like as close as the score was. I think the Ravens were in control pretty much the whole time, but the team didn't lay down. And Jayden Daniels responded well to some adversity there. That was a really well coached defense with a really solid game plan, and they were able to execute it. And they kind of forced him to become a pocket passer, and he was cool with it. He thrived. He did really well. Threw for a career high in passes, completed 75% of his passes. Really good game from Jayden Daniels. The defense definitely. I don't know. The best defense in the league is going to have trouble with that Ravens offense when it's clicking like it was on Sunday. But we clearly don't have the best defense in the league. Speaking of defense, this week, we're going to take on the Carolina Panthers in a home game. And our guy Mike here is going to tell us how he thinks the Panthers defense is going to attack the Commanders offense this week. What do you got for us, Mike?
The Panthers defense, they're better than what most people would expect. They have a nice secondary led by J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson. Horn, for those older, they may remember his father, Joe Horn, who was a great receiver for the Saints back in the day. But yeah, that secondary is better than ours. I'll say that. And I feel like that's how they're going to have to slow down Washington, because I don't think they're going to be able to stop the running game too much. They're not as strong against the run as they are versus the pass. And yeah, those corners are going to have a busy day, because if Daniels can target McLaurin against the Ravens, you would think he would look to do the same versus the Panthers. And I'm not even trying to downgrade the Panthers. I'm just saying the Ravens, like we said earlier, are an elite defense. Even if the numbers don't back it up, the talent does. And the talent on the Panthers just doesn't compare, in my opinion, even though they are better than ours. As far as how to slow Washington down, like I said, it's a lot that Washington does, and it's going to be hard. And I'm gonna say this every week: like, if the other 31 defensive coordinators are having a hard time stopping them or slowing them down, what can I do? What can I predict? But if Brian Robinson comes back, the Panthers are kind of going to have to do what Washington did versus the Ravens this week. Stuff the box and pray that Daniels has an off day. But as we seen last week, that might not ever happen. And I'm not even trying to gas Daniels up, but the numbers are saying that if you let this man try to beat you from the pocket, he's going to beat you from the pocket. So good luck to the Panthers, man. I know I didn't give any in-depth analysis, but it's not really too much I can say, because they haven't been stopping people this season anyway.
That is very true. Defensively, you're going to try to, I would assume, replicate what the Ravens did. But the question is, can you do it? Do you have the chops, or is your defense coached well enough and talented enough to maintain that rush discipline the way that the Ravens did, to really keep Jayden Daniels in the pocket and stop the running game, which presumably will be a little bit better this week? in the event that Brian Robinson comes back. So yeah, the defense has a tall order ahead of it coming up this weekend. Offensively, Carolina has some actual talent on their offense. Really, offense hasn't been the problem in recent weeks since Bryce Young was benched in week 3 and Andy Dalton took over. The Panthers rather are averaging 25 points a game. They've got 24, 10 against the Bears, 20 last week against the Falcons, 36 against the Raiders. So they can put points up on the board, and there are some talented players. Obviously, we've seen Andy Dalton. We know what Andy Dalton is. He's at this point in his career, he's a capable game managing type of quarterback. It's really what he's been his whole career, but he can still do it. He's not going to put the team on his back and carry you to victory, but he can distribute the ball as well as anybody in the NFL, even at age, 35, 36 now. He's getting up there in years. Add to that Chuba Hubbard, the running back, a little bit of a revelation this year. I know Mike knows about some Chuba Hubbard. He's got him on his fantasy team. But yeah, Chuba has been solid for the past couple of years. He's really replaced Miles Sanders as like the primary back there, having himself a good year so far. So he's somebody to keep an eye on. Now, he's certainly not Derrick Henry. And, Andy Dalton certainly isn't Lamar Jackson, but he's a solid running back in his own right. Receiving wise, Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette, those are your guys that you really got to worry about on the outside. Tight end, who I loved coming out in the draft, Jatavian Sanders. I kind of felt bad that he went to the Panthers. Put together a nice game last week with 50 yards on 5 catches. He was one of my favorite tight ends in the draft. I did really like him. So the talent is there. You saw kind of the blueprint for attacking this Washington defense, which is just attack the secondary as much as you can. Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette, Coker, those guys can all do it for sure. The tight ends, you can attack this secondary. The key is, can you run the ball well enough to make Washington play the run so that you can't attack the secondary, because there's going to be more people back there. They're able to run that nickel and dime defense much more so if they're not having to stack the box to try to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson from running. So I don't know that they're quite up to that. And Washington should not have quite as bad a week defensively, hopefully, as they did. But the Panthers have shown with Andy Dalton at the helm that they're certainly able to put some points on the board. So that is something to keep an eye on, because they will throw the ball and they can throw it well. They've shown that this season. Mike, how is Washington's defense going to take on that potent Panthers offense that I just described?
It's not potent, but it's kind of interesting. They're kind of middle of the pack, just like the offense. Lower end middle of the pack, just like the defense. I'm sorry. But they have pieces, and like you said, Hubbard should be concerning. I have him on my team. I understand the production that he's been having this season. Definitely outpaced Miles Sanders like immediately from the beginning of the season. But the fact that Miles Sanders is even in their backfield is concerning a bit. Not saying that he's going to have a throwback game or something like that, but it's another talented player that the defense is going to have to worry about. And they're without John Allen for the rest of the season. Who knows? They can even be without Lawrence versus the Panthers on Sunday. And then when you think about it, this should be a game where Emmanuel Forbes can play, based on what Dan Quinn himself said in the press conference. He said that the Ravens ran a lot of heavy packages. The Panthers are not running heavy packages. They are kind of a finesse team. This defense needs help in the secondary. So you would think maybe Forbes can get some burn this game to help with the coverage. But outside of that, it could be a long day for the secondary. They may shore up in the red zone, and that's honestly the plan that they're going to have to play for the rest of the season, in my opinion. The ultimate, we're back to the bend but don't break defense. St. Juice, for as good as he might have played, he's still St. Juice, and that's not even any disrespect to him. He's going to struggle against the shifty, small wide receivers, but I don't think the Panthers have any of those. So you can put him on Leggett. You could put Igbenagi on Johnson, I believe, and yeah, tell the defensive line to go hunt. It's a certain position. I mean, it's a certain player that I'm trying to withhold from talking about because I want to save them for my key of the game. But the defense, they're in the danger zone. Like they were already floating with John Allen, but losing him is going to be huge. And yeah, it could be a long day. No matter how well the offense plays on Sunday, the defense is going to be on for a long day with a back quarterback and a shaky secondary.
Yeah, might be time for Johnny Newton and Phil Mathis to step up. I hope those guys weren't your key players, but yeah, those guys are going to have to
Maybe.
put on their big boy pants now because John Allen's not there, and Deron Payne can't hold it all down by himself. So help him out. Look, offensively, the Washington Commanders, they were made one dimensional last week. Still put 23 points on the board. Mostly through the air. You really don't want that to be your blueprint moving forward. You don't want to be a primarily passing offense. The Panthers don't have near the run defense that the Ravens did. So I'm not overly concerned about them making Jayden Daniels one dimensional, making the offense have to throw the ball. The only thing is if the defense can't hold and the Panthers start putting points on the board and it becomes a shootout, then you got to worry about making it passing. But I think Washington really offensively just wants to play that time of possession game that they've been doing so well for the bulk of the season. You want a heavy dose of running. Hopefully Brian Robinson Jr. is back this week. Makes things a lot easier. Austin Eckler said it himself, in the offseason. He's not that lead back anymore. He's not a guy that's going to get you all those carries. He's a great change of pace back. And I think McNichols, prior to last week, had done really well, in that third back role and even the second back role when Eckler was out. But you really need that bell cow Brian Robinson in there. Because, again, even if he's not rushing for 100 yards, even if he's only getting, 40, 50 yards on the ground on 17 or 18 carries, it wears down the defense and it makes it easier for you to pass it. If they're not expecting you to throw every time, it makes it easier to throw when you do. So we really need Brian Robinson back, or maybe dust off Chris Rodriguez, get him some carries, to kind of be that hammer, because we don't really have that with the other two guys right now. So that's, we want to see that. Of course, we're going to take our shots. Jayden Daniels is going to run that efficient passing game that Cliff Kingsbury has put in for him, doing it really well. And I cannot get what Tony Romo said the other day out of my head. And it's really bugging me that I didn't notice it about Jayden Daniels going left. When Jayden Daniels starts moving to his left, he never throws it to this point. And it's held true. I've gone back and watched, and it's 100% true. I'm really annoyed that I didn't pick up on that. I look for any flaw that I can with him. I just didn't see it. So it's something to watch out. Like I said, he's fixed all of every concern that I had about him. He has managed to fix. Clearly to appease me, because he's worried about my opinion. But every concern I had about him to this point, he's fixed. So I'm not worried about the left thing until it becomes an issue. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. But again, you just want that balance on offense, right? You just want your 25 completions and 25 rushes, and you're good to go, or 30 rushes, or however many it was. But that's what you want. And that's what they're going to try to do against this Panthers defense that has been susceptible. So that's what we're doing on offense and defense. Mike, you have a key player that you'd like to talk about? I think you do. Is it Terry McLaurin?
No, it's not McLaurin this week.
Not this week? Okay.
With 2 touchdowns last week, I think he's good. We know who he is now. He's someone to always worry about. We can't forget about him. Even though that was the first time he was mentioned this episode. But that's fine. It's actually Deron Payne. With Allen gone, he's now become the de facto leader of the defensive line. He's become the, let's say, Batman to Allen Superman, if you're a Justice League fan. We need him. Like, we're going to need him to lead the defensive line for the rest of the season. And I think he can do it. Like, there's a part of me that's like, maybe with Allen there, they were kind of restricting each other from fully going out or something like that, because they had to worry about the other, or I don't know. But regardless, he's going to be a big factor on this defensive line because outside of him, there's really no proven monster left on the team. We could talk about Johnny Newton and Fedarian Mathis and Obata and everybody else that's on the D line, but Payne is him or has been proven to be him, and we're going to need him to continue to be him.
They're going to be him. Deron Payne is going to be him. Okay. My key to the game, my key player this week, I think it's going to be Andy Dalton. Because, he not, again, solid, not spectacular player, but he is a savvy vet who can get the job done. But you can rattle Andy Dalton to this day. If pressuring Andy Dalton, he's not the most mobile guy. If Deron Payne, Johnny Newton, Phil Mathis can get that push up the middle, that will be huge. Because again, Andy Dalton never been the tallest guy, 6'1". You can get hands in his face now. He's great at finding lanes. Dave Canales, the Panthers head coach, is great at scheming up passing schemes. He had a short quarterback in Baker Mayfield last year, made it work. So there's a lot of work cut out, but if you got to collapse that pocket and really get to Andy Dalton, if you can get him off his game, get him off his spot, moving around where he's not comfortable, that is going to be a really long day for the Panthers. And we may even see Bryce Young again. I think we saw Bryce Young against the Bears. They pulled Dalton, not because he was playing terribly, but also because they didn't want to have to turn to Bryce Young full time because Dalton was getting killed in that game. So maybe we can do that. Maybe we can get some shots on Andy Dalton, get them to think about the long term of the season and put Bryce Young back in, because then you got nothing to worry about, because boy, is he bad. He's really bad. So let's hope this is the opposite of the Cleveland game where we're like, we didn't want the backup to come in. Like, I think both of us would love to see Bryce Young come in and just stink it up, because, man, he's almost Deshaun Watson bad to this point in his career. So let's go Bryce Young. Let's get him in the game. You got a score prediction for me this week?
Yeah, it's going to be wrong like every other week. But I think Washington gets back on this track and they score over 30 at home, afternoon game. The whole country will not be watching because the 49ers and Chiefs are playing at the same time on Fox. So, yeah. But I think Washington pulls it out 31-17. Like I said, the Panthers, they're going to move the ball on us. They're going to move up and down the field, get a couple of red zone touchdowns just because they're a professional football team. But at the end of the day, just like the Ravens proved last week versus Washington, I think Washington is going to prove this week versus Carolina that at the end of the day, the more talented team wins. The more talented team, the better coach team, the more productive team, the more dynamic team usually wins at the end of the day. And I hope this isn't a classic Washington letdown where they let one loss become two losses and two losses become 14.
I got you there. Look, that's actually what I was thinking about, is thinking back to last year when they played the Eagles really close. They were right there till the end of the Eagles, and you were like, man, this team is legit. That was like they were 2-1 at the time, and you're like, man, this team, I think we got something here. And then they just came out and laid a complete egg against the Bears on national TV the next week. So we had that kind of statement game last week, even in the loss, that said, hey, man, we can play with anybody. We're not, going to back down. So now we're playing against a bad team. Thankfully, it's not in prime time or on national TV, but, it is kind of a similar situation. So I think this team is much better coached and much more mentally tough than probably that team was last year. There's not a dead man walking at head coach. There's real belief in the quarterback at this point, even though I think at this point last year, there was pretty strong belief in Howell because he was playing pretty well up until that. But Jayden Daniels is playing so much better than what he was even at this point last year. So I don't think that happens. And I'm going to go 37-10 Washington because the Bears beat them 36-10 2 weeks ago, and they haven't shut up about how good Caleb Williams is since then. So we're going to beat them 37-10. And whatever Caleb Williams did in that game, Jayden Daniels is going to do one better. So Bears fans can think about that, even though the game against Chicago is the following week, and that's going to be fun. That just got flexed the Bears game just got flexed to the national TV game. So that's pretty rad. But we'll worry about that. We'll worry about that on Commanders versus Bears declassified. We still talking Panthers right now. So Mike's got us going 31-17. I got us going 37-10 to one up those Bears. Any final thoughts on this game, Mike?
Yeah, I really hope it's not a letdown. I forgot all about week 4 last year versus the Bears on Thursday night. That was the end of the year for me in 2023. After seeing that game, what hope do you have? What hope could you have for the Washington franchise? But 12 months later, things are looking kind of bright right now. You got a quarterback that's cooking. People are confidently saying that he's a top 10 quarterback. Not saying fringe or he's kind of, no, they're saying that there's not more than 10 quarterbacks playing better than this man. And how can we disagree? Look at the numbers. They're high, not just for a rookie quarterback. They're high for a quarterback. And I can't wait to see him perform on Sunday.
Yeah. As embarrassing as that week 4 game was against the Bears last year, it did set us on the path to where we are right now with the house cleaning at the end of the season, the high draft pick, bringing in seemingly all the right people. So it was a blessing in disguise, even though it was just quite embarrassing last year on national TV to save. What was that? Who's that bum head coach the Bears have? Matt.
Oh, Eberflus.
Yeah, Eberflus. Yeah, we saved his job. Saved Justin Fields' career in that game. Oh, that was awful. Made DJ Moore a household name. Yeah, let's keep talking about that. It's so much fun. Hey, this weekend is the Darryl Green jersey retirement ceremony. I'm pretty stoked for that. I actually will be attending the game this week, which is a thing that I never do because I despise attending Commanders games because I live in Virginia and it's hell. Landover, Maryland is, I'm sure it's a lovely town with delightful people, but I never, ever want to go there. Going to break that rule this weekend. I'm looking forward to going to the game and seeing Darryl Green, the ceremony for Darryl Green, and hopefully a 37-10 Commanders victory over the Panthers. Ooh. Hey, this has been Commanders Declassified. I'm Eric. That is Mike. You can catch us here every Wednesday morning, I guess, is when these guys drop. And we give you all kinds of fun Commanders details. Check us out at commanders247.com as well. I think we're working on that website name. I think we're going to get a better one or a different one. But for right now, it's commanders247.com. We've got quarterback reviews, defense reviews. We post those up every week. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe, maybe a 5-star review on some of those podcasts. Those go a long way to allowing us to grow and to get to where we want to go as a podcast, which is to talk to as many Commanders fans as possible, and maybe even convert a few bum team fans to Commanders fans as well. So this is Commanders Declassified. Mike, we out this week. We will catch you next week with a much better host. Ellie will be back, I promise you. And until then, peace out, guys.